Have you know, as I shut my eyes, I see a perfect one coming now. He's wearing a robe and sandals. He's a Pharisee. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Those people who just read the New Testament think that Pharisees are not nice people. Wrong. Pharisees were the best of people. In the Palestine of Jesus' day, there were only 6,000 Pharisees, and they were good people. Did you know that all Pharisees were enemies? Now, this is absolutely true. All Pharisees were enemies. All of them were waiting for Messiah, Christ, to come. Did you know that every Pharisee was a Seventh-day Adventist? Yes. While waiting for Christ to come, they were keeping the Sabbath rigorously. In fact, they had 1,520 rules on how to keep the Sabbath. You think you're zealous? These people were really zealous. They could tell you how long you could keep the radish in the salt on the Sabbath day. Because if you kept it there too long, it would begin to pickle. And pickling was a category of work. And work on Sabbath was sin. They could tell you how large of a rock you could carry on the Sabbath day. Because if you were carrying a rock that was too big, you were carrying a burden. And carrying a burden on the Sabbath day was work. And work was sin on that day. But they can also tell you that if you picked up a child who was holding the rock, that was all right because that was an act of mercy. They can tell you how far you can walk on the Sabbath day. About 2/3 of a mile, about 1 kilometer. And if you walked further than that, you were traveling. And traveling was a category of work. And work on the Sabbath was sin. But they also could tell you, if you went out on Friday afternoon, and you walked one Sabbath day's journey, you put a little bit of drink there, you put a little bit of food there, and then you walked another Sabbath day's journey and did the same thing. You come back on Sabbath, you could walk the first Sabbath day's journey, sit down, eat and drink. That became another home from which you could walk another Sabbath day's journey, and so on. They were absolutely sincere about keeping the law. In fact, they had a saying, you can read it in their Talmud. The Talmud, in one place says, if Torah, that's law, if Torah is kept perfectly for one day, Messiah, which is Hebrew for Christ, Messiah will come. They had another place, if 2 Sabbaths are kept perfectly, Messiah will come. You see, they had Christ-like lessons 1,800 years before it was written. These people were zealous. I see another one coming. This one is not wearing sandals, wearing shoes, not wearing robes, he's wearing trousers. I know his church. It's back east, 35 members and rapidly shrinking. The head elder in that church, this is a true story, one of the past classmates, probably about that time now, was their pastor. And this man says, I don't mind taking the communion service to the shut-ins, to those who are sick, but I wouldn't partake with them because that would be eating between meals. I don't know if you know what communion means. No, he wanted to be like Jesus in every way, so he wouldn't do that. And there's another guy there, 6'5". This is a true story. He weighs 130 pounds, and he once told his pastor there's only 2 people in the world, perfect people in the world today. He named one of them, who I won't because he discovered it was wrong to eat almost everything, including all grains. So he refused to eat anything made of wheat, rice, barley, oats, but he wasn't quite perfect. He confessed to his pastor that every second Wednesday, every 14 days, he broke down and ate 2 puffed rice patties. Pretty close. Pretty close. He's almost there. And that gets me back to my own story. Not long after, I became a Seventh-day Adventist. Somebody showed me Christ Object Lessons, page 69, about perfectly reproducing the character of Christ. That's when I promised God that I would be the first perfect Christian since Jesus. And what happened in my life? Within a few weeks, I could tell you what was wrong with almost anything you might want to eat. I could tell you what was wrong with almost anything you might want to do. I could tell you what was wrong with the church. I could tell you what was wrong with the pastors. I could even tell you what was wrong with you. I became an expert at telling people what was wrong with everything. And in my own desire for perfection, within 3 months, I went from 165 pounds to 120 pounds. And my dear non-Adventist mother feared that I might die from health reform. But in my desire to become perfect, I want you to know that I did truly become perfect. I was the perfect Pharisee after the order of Saul before he met Jesus on the road to Damascus. I was the perfect monk on the order of Martin Luther before he discovered righteousness by faith in the Book of Romans. I was the perfect Methodist on the order of John Wesley before he got converted at Aldersgate. I had good company. I got out my wallet and I wrote him a very fiery letter. I told him exactly what he could do with those credentials.